What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 college football schedule preview and projected record series. The Boston College Eagles are up next, and before we preview their schedule for 2024 and give them an early projected record based on how tough that schedule is, let's take a look back at what Boston College did in 2023. Here are my projections and predictions last year for Boston College. My projection had them at 6-6, and then my prediction for them was also 6-6, and Boston College ended up doing that. This team did go 6-6 last year in the regular season, so I was right on the money with Boston College's projection and prediction last year, and obviously making it to a bowl game just barely there at 6-6. So a very decent season for Boston College. If you count their bowl game victory at the end of the year as well, this team did go 7-6 overall in the 2023 season. So like I said, a decent season for Boston College. Here was the schedule from last year in 2023. You look at who they played in the non-conference. They played Northern Illinois, also known as NIU. Ended up losing that game in the season opener, but really either way, they still had a really good season the rest of the way. They also played Holy Cross Army on the road, and then of course UConn. So their non-conference schedule was pretty easy. And then you look at the losses coming in the ACC last year. Lost to Florida State and Louisville here. They lost to Louisville, of course, on the road. Virginia Tech at home. Pittsburgh on the road. And then Miami there in that last game of the regular season on that Friday. So their ACC schedule wasn't too bad either. They didn't have to play North Carolina or, Miami and Clemson here on this schedule. And then plus NC State, they didn't have to play them either. So their schedule was pretty much easy last year in 2023. But let's now look ahead to 2024. Here is the schedule for Boston College. And before we go game by game, let's take a look at who they will play in the non-conference for this upcoming season. So you look at their non-conference schedule. They will play Duquesne, Missouri on the road, Michigan State at home, and then Western Kentucky here at home as well. So 3 games at home in the non-conference, and then you got 1 road game here on the road at Missouri out of the SEC. That'll obviously be a very tough one here. Missouri obviously coming off a very surprising season in 2023 last year. Michigan State also will be a tough game at home, but Boston College should be favored a little bit there with a home field advantage. And then you got Duquesne and Western Kentucky here, both in the non-conference. So this non-conference schedule is not too bad, but when you got Missouri and Michigan State both there in the non-conference, it does make the non-conference schedule a little bit tougher. So let's go back to the schedule now here for 2024 and go game by game now. And they actually start things off on a Monday night here on the road at Florida State to open up ACC play here on September 2nd. So that is a very tough game to start out the year here for Boston College, but then they'll play Duquesne after that here on September the 7th. Then they'll go on the road to play Missouri here on September the 14th. Then back at home for Michigan State here on September the 21st. Then it's Western Kentucky here on September the 28th. So we're talking about 5 games here to be played here in the month of September. One, of course, on a Monday night there, and then the other ones are on Saturdays. And then in the month of October, they go on the road to play Virginia here on October the 5th. And then they get a bye week here before playing Virginia Tech here on the road on October 17th. That game will be, of course, on a Thursday. But they got back-to-back road games here with Virginia and Virginia Tech, but you get a bye week in between those back-to-back road games, so it's not back-to-back road games and back-to-back weeks. And then they come back at home to play Louisville here on October the 25th. Another weeknight game there on October the 25th on a Friday. And then they get a bye week right here before playing Syracuse in the month of November on November 9th at home. And then they go on the road to play SMU here on November 16th. Then at home against North Carolina here on November 23rd. And then they close things out with Pittsburgh here at home on November 30th. So that's the schedule for Boston College for 2024. And you look at this schedule, it's not really that tough of a schedule. It's a pretty manageable schedule here for Boston College. Kind of like similar to last year, except they do play North Carolina here this year. They obviously don't have to play Miami. They do play Florida State, however, on the road. They gave Florida State, though, a scare from last year, so maybe that game could be a little bit close. It's like the season opener here for Boston College. But like I said, they do play Louisville as well, but the good news is they get that game at home as well. They don't have to play NC State either, so you're talking about a schedule that really sets up nicely for Boston College to potentially have a really another pretty good season here for 2024. So let's now get to the projection here for Boston College. This is the scale that we'll be using here for this projection. If it's a 1% game in the red, again, that percentage there is counted as an automatic loss, and then your 20% games here in the orange are going to be games where Boston College will be about a double-digit underdog. Then your 40% games in the yellow will be games where Boston College will be a clear underdog in by about a touchdown. And then, of course, 50-50 games on here will stay in the white. Games I think can really go either way. And then 60% games here in the purple are going to be games where Boston College will be favored by about a touchdown. And then 80% games here in the blue will be games where Boston College will be favored by double digits and also by about a couple touchdowns. And also your 99% games here in the green are pretty much your automatic wins and also your easy wins in that percentage. So we'll start with the easy wins on here for Boston College on this schedule. I think you got a couple of easy wins on here. Duquesne and Western Kentucky, 2 out of your 4 non-conference games here in the month of September. They absolutely should go out there and take care of business against Duquesne pretty easily. Western Kentucky could be a game that could be at 90%, but I think Boston College is definitely the more better team, as they should be, but Western Kentucky is not a bad team out of the Conference USA, so that could be a little bit of a tricky game, but it is a home game here for Boston College, and I do expect them to be a big favorite in, that game here. So I think both of these games, Boston College will be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. Those are not guaranteed wins, but again, we're counting them as automatic wins here in our projections for this year for 2024 on this schedules. And then you look at the rest of the games on here. There's not really any other games on here that I could favor Boston College by double digits at 80% in the blue, and then also by about a touchdown at 60% here in the purple. So let's skip over to the games where I think Boston College will be underdogs in. I don't have any red games on here which are counted as automatic losses on here for Boston College, but I do have one game on here where I think Boston College is going to be a double-digit underdog, and that's going to be the game on the road here at Florida State in the season opener here on a Monday night. Again, this is a very tough game to start out the year for Boston College. I know Boston College gave Florida State some trouble last year, but they had the home field advantage in that game last season, so playing on the road in Florida State, at Florida State, it's going to be a very tough one here. Florida State, obviously, coming off a very good season last year. There's really just no telling if Boston College will compete in this game or not, but it is the season opener. It is on a Monday night, of course, but I think Boston College will be a double-digit underdog here. Obviously, Florida State has the more talented roster and the more talented team. So, again, that's the only game where I could see Boston College being a double-digit underdog, like I mentioned. And then your 40% games here in the yellow, where I think Boston College will be a clear underdog in. I got 3 games on here in the yellow: Missouri, Louisville, and North Carolina. Missouri, I know that's a road game. It should be in the orange, but, I think this is a game that Boston College will absolutely compete in. I think it could be a back and forth game perhaps, but Missouri is still going to be the favorite just because they got the home field advantage, and plus they're coming off a really good season last year, so I do expect Missouri to be the better team. And then Louisville and North Carolina, both of these games, I think Boston College will be clear underdogs in them. You got Louisville here on a Friday. That definitely could be one of those upset alert type games in the month of October. And then, of course, North Carolina, that one's in the month of November. North Carolina might not be the same team as they were from last year, so that's definitely a very winnable game there for Boston College. And like I said, all 3 of these games, I think Boston College will be a clear underdog in them by about a touchdown. They're not losable games, and they're also not winnable games, but they're definitely one of those upset alert type games that definitely Boston College will compete in. So those 3 games, I think Boston College will be a clear underdog in them in the yellow at 40%. And then the rest of the games on here are pretty much 50-50 games. So I got 6 50-50 games on here for the Eagles, Michigan State out of the non-conference, then Virginia, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, SMU, and then Pittsburgh here in the ACC. All these games are pretty winnable here in the 50-50 range. You look at Michigan State, that's obviously a 50-50 game just because Boston College does have the home field advantage. And plus, it's a new era down there at Michigan State. Maybe you could favor Boston College in this game by a field goal because they do have the home field advantage at least. But that's a pretty even matchup there. And then you got Virginia and Virginia Tech both on the road. Just because they're both on the road, that's the reason why both of those games turned out to be in the white. Syracuse, I think that's a pretty even matchup. SMU, just because it's on the road, that's the reason why this game ended up being in the white. And plus, Boston College beat SMU last year in their bowl game. And then Pittsburgh, of course, that's a pretty even matchup there at the last game of the regular season. So again, 6 50-50 games on here that can go either way here for Boston College. So let's now get a projected record here for Boston College for 2024. Again, this is not going to be an official prediction. This is simply going to be a projection based on how tough the schedule is. So we count those 2 green games as automatic wins, and then you pretty much average out that one game in the orange at 20%, and then you average out all these yellow games here at 40%. Then you average out all the 50-50 games here at 50%, and the overall projected record for Boston College is 5-7 here for 2024. So a little bit of a lower projection compared to last year's projection at 6-6. That's because the schedule had a lot more winnable games in the non-conference. But you look at this non-conference schedule, Michigan State and Missouri, obviously they're going to be underdogs against Missouri. That's how the projection came out to be 5-7. And again, when you split those 50-50 games, let's say they win 3 out of the 6 games here in the 50-50 range. You've got a couple wins already here in the green, and then you got 3 more wins here in the 50-50 games. That would give you 5 wins, and that's how the projection came out to be 5-7. But it wouldn't really shock me if Boston College did go to a bowl game, to be honest, at 6-6. They could probably finish 6-6 again this year. Maybe go 4-8. That would definitely be the worst case scenario, but I probably won't see them going 4-8. But again, 5-7 is the projection here for Boston College for 2024 based on how tough this schedule is. So give me your thoughts on this Boston College team down in the comments below. What do you think their projected record is for 2024? And thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.